What is up, guys? Welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I'm very glad you're here. If you're not new here, I'm still glad you're here. Alright. In this box is something very, very exciting. It's actually been sitting on my counter for a couple of days, and I was waiting until I could share it with you guys to open it. This is my new book. This is my first time seeing my new book, and yeah, well, I'm going to open it and look at it because I can't wait any longer, and then I'll tell you guys about it. So, I should clarify, this is my first time seeing it in print. Obviously, you go through all of the layout stuff. Wow. This doesn't get old. I know this isn't my first one, but it's just crazy. Alright, here it is, guys. The First Time Homesteader. An earnest... It's... Okay, little... Sorry. I'm having a hard time talking. I just feel so excited. Like, this is such a surreal thing. Like, I don't know. If you haven't been here very long, you might not have ever heard me share this, but when I first started Instagram, long before I had YouTube, and I first started like posting regularly to Instagram about the homesteading life, it was because I wanted to write a book one day. Like, from when I was really little, that was my big dream, my big goal was to write a book one day. And so, this is my second book. Is that crazy? So, let me tell you about it. Instead of just a video of myself sitting here gawking at it. The First Time Homesteader, A Complete Beginner's Guide to Starting and Loving Your New Homestead by Jessica Sowards. This one's a little different than the last book. The last book that I wrote was The First Time Gardener. And this one, I actually, check that out. What do y'all think? I actually took the photos in this. There are a few photos that I didn't take that, are not of my farm. Things like when I started this book, we had bees, but then we had the whole issue with the hives absconding and all that stuff. And so because of the utility company spraying poison, anyway, so I had to kind of rely on some other people for some photos and some of these things, but most of these are photos that I took of my farm, and it is incredible to see this. I'm so excited to get to share this with you guys. So, practically speaking, this book is for the new homesteader. If you have been homesteading for a while, I'm sure there are things that would be informational and inspirational for you in here. But I know that there are so many people making the transition out of city life and pursuing the homestead life, and they're making the decisions on what to look for when they're buying land, and what kind of cow they might want, and what to consider when they're laying out their property. And that's what this is covering. This is me sharing. I actually started this when we lived in Arkansas, and continued to work on it through our move and once we got here. So there are photos from both places in this book. And I even did cover some things like raising rabbits. Like, these are actually my friend Wes's rabbits. He just walked past me to go in the house. I went over and took pictures of his rabbits. Did a lot of research. And this is the kind of thing that I wanted to be able to cover, not just from what we have done, but really expressing the options to somebody who is new. And I'm so excited about this book. Funnily enough, when I used to dream about wanting to write a book, like when I first started Instagram, it was the homesteading book that I really wanted to write. And along the way, I fell in love with the garden, and that was the first book. But this one is such a project of a real place of passion for me. So I hope you love it. It is available for pre-order now. Cordo is my publisher. They've been amazing, and you can get this anywhere the books are sold. You can pre-order it, and it is available worldwide. It's in other countries. It's not just here. And as always, when things like this happen, I hope to be able to express my deep gratitude to you, my viewers, because your support of us has genuinely made things like this possible for me. I think my first book has, I don't know, like 4,000 or 5,000 positive reviews on Amazon because of the way you got behind it. It has been in Costco stores all over the country. It has been reprinted in many languages. And already we're starting to see pre-orders for this book that go along those lines. And it's massively humbling. This is genuinely a dream come true for me to get to do this. And I know that we get to do so many amazing things, and they're all amazing, but this particular thing moves my heart in a very special way because this is truly like what I dreamed about when I was a child. So thank you. The First Time Homesteader by Jessica Sowards. I'll put links down below. All right, guys, it's the next morning. Say hi to Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
Taylor and I are working on something I think that is very exciting. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Okay, if you've been here a while, you've heard me talk about how down the road, Maya and I really want to build essentially like a learning farm where people can come do internships, where the community can come and purchase locally grown food, and where we can really put into practice a lot of these regenerative agriculture practices that we're currently learning about. That's down the road. But one of the things I have in kind of this vision is I see this really long wooden table that seats, like 40 or 50 people. And I've just imagined a culture of this place where like everybody that works there and does internships and all that stuff comes together and shares a meal, weekly. And Taylor and I were talking recently about kind of what we're doing here, which I really believe that when you steward the small things, that's what leads to the bigger things. And so sometimes you have this really massive dream that feels way out there and you think there's nothing I can do to make that possible, but maybe you have a tiny piece of it that you can steward today. And that's why I always tell you guys to turn your waiting room into a classroom, because that's how you do that. That's how you steward the big dream, is you do what you can do today. So here's Taylor temping some chickens. These are chickens that we raised. And I put them in the roaster oven this morning. So we're just roasting those. Making our first Roots and Refuge breaking bread meal. Like, this is our first meal. Of course, we sit down at the kitchen table and all eat lunch together regularly. Everybody brings their lunch. I think eating together is so impactful in building community and culture. And so we are now starting our thing that we're going to be doing, our regular meals, where we as a group and as a community working together eat a meal off the farm. So today we're doing a pot of chicken and dumplings with chickens from the farm, and obviously making that stuff from scratch. We're also doing a pot of our cowpeas, our chicken and dumplings cowpeas that we got from Dr. Kibler, and we're also going to do some fried okra. So primarily that whole meal is going to be off the farm, except for like the flour and stuff like that. But I'm pretty dang excited. What do you think, Taylor?
I think it's great.
Yes.
I've never worked anywhere that does this. And it's impactful when you think about serving your employees, and ideally it's making them happy, essentially. You show that you care.
Yeah.
And sharing is caring.
Wise words from Taylor. Jeremiah and I joke that food is our love language. And we're joking, but like not really. It actually is. Food is our love language. And sharing food that you grew, there's just something incredible about it. I took these peas and laid them out on this tray just to let them dry. So this is what I'm gonna cook today. A lot of y'all have been asking about these peas, what they are and how to cook them. I've had a lot of you say, hey, we're not from the South, tell us how to cook field peas. Field peas or cow peas, big part of Southern cuisine. They grow well where it's hot and humid. And I'm just gonna be making those in the Instant Pot, but I'll show you guys how. All right, so I got the Instant Pot going. I've got several pieces of bacon in here that are browned. I'm gonna drain off a little bit of this grease into my bacon grease holder. I don't really need to save all of it, and I don't want to lose any of my bacon, but just don't want that much in the peas. Still a little bit in there, but not much. An onion and a handful of cloves of rough cut garlic. I'm gonna put all this in there. Obviously, this is one of those not a recipes. It's really gonna come down to preference. But I'm gonna put quite a bit of paprika in here. Here I've got my bucket of salt, which that bacon is also salty, so I'm not doing a ton of that. Here I've got some black pepper. And some dried thyme. Right. I'm not making these spicy with like hot peppers because I'm cooking for like different people. If I were making these just for myself, I would put some like hot peppers out of the garden in them. But all right, so when you're cooking any sort of beans or peas, you can soak them and they will cook faster. If you're cooking them on a pot on a stove, you definitely want to do that. These were just picked off the plant and shelled like within the last week. And so while they're dried, they're not going to behave like they're dried peas you bought from the store. So these are going to reconstitute a little quicker. I didn't bother soaking them. I also knew I was going to cook them in the Instant Pot. So if you're doing them in the Instant Pot and you're dealing with peas that are older, you might have to cook them for a few extra minutes. But what we're going to do is roughly 3 parts liquid to 1 part pea. So this is about like 2/3 of a quart of dried peas that I'm just gonna put in here. And with my sauteed bacon, onions, garlic, thyme, paprika, salt, pepper. And here I have 2 quarts of bone broth, 2 different batches. You can see the different colors there. This can opener has seen better days. The actual can opener part will not open a metal can anymore, but it has the best little metal thing on it to pop canning lids off, so. Open these 2 quarts of bone broth. Taylor just went out to the garden to get some basil to make basil tea, which we will serve with our lunch. So that's about 3 times the liquid 2 peas. I'm cooking these now. We're having lunch at noon. It's 10. And these are going to cook really fast in the Instant Pot. I think I'll probably run them for, I don't know, like maybe like 12 or 13 minutes. And then I'm gonna let those sit, and they'll sit on warm until lunch. And what will happen is all the extra juice in there will kind of get soaked up a little bit and it'll thicken up some, so we can serve that as a side to our lunch. Y'all notice I have this box of books just sitting here in the middle of my island, which makes absolutely no sense, but I just keep picking them up and looking at them. I already edited the first part of this video where I was unboxing that, just making sure that it was all, you know, good and everything. I kept thinking of something that I wanted to share for you guys because I think it'll probably be encouraging. You know, for so many of you, you're in the place of dreaming about having a homestead, and you're doing what you can where you are. You're turning your waiting room into a classroom. You're learning to cook a pot of beans. You're learning to cook a whole chicken. You're learning to forage and, you know, shop locally and seasonally, and you're dreaming of having the opportunity to put those skills into action. I was editing that video and I was just seeing myself holding that book, and I was instantly taken back to this moment when that's where I was. And I remembered Jeremiah and I have told this story multiple times publicly, so you may have heard it before, but Jeremiah and I went on a date night. We're at the Barnes & Noble. And I was reading a homesteading book, and we would get like a cup of coffee and we would sit and read books, and we didn't buy the books. We didn't have enough money to go do things like buy books. And I remember reading this book about like backyard homesteading, and I was on the page about butchering hogs, and it was showing the different cuts of the hog. And I remember crying, like tears falling on the book, big old tears of just hopelessness, and feeling like that dream was just a million miles away. And seeing that little clip of that video that from the front of this vlog, and seeing myself holding a homesteading book that I wrote, man, it's just really cool. And I wanted to share that because it takes a lot of bravery to dream, and it takes a lot of bravery to hope, and especially whenever a dream feels impossible. But the brave thing to do is to continue hoping, and the wise thing to do is to steward the small parts of your dream in the beginning stages by learning to cook, by turning your waiting room into a classroom. And like I share this, my story, because I really, really want it to be an encouragement to you. Us being where we are is not because we are extraordinary. It's not. I appreciate when you guys are like, yes, Jess, you just don't know. Like, that's very kind. But, like, it's not because we're extraordinary. I know that it is because we have experienced the faithfulness of God. And then also, I truly believe if we did anything right, it was just stewarding those little pieces and continuing to do the next small thing that was in front of us. There's not a task that's underneath you. There's not a task that is unimportant. Those little things are, sometimes they are the stepping stones to big dreams. And so right now, wherever you are, you're not hopeless. The dream is not too big. It's not impossible. There is some small little thing that's accessible to you that is the next step on the path towards that big dream. And I hope that you can see that. I hope that when you look at this and I share that this is a dream come true, I hope that instead of being like, well, it happened for her, but it'll never happen for me, I hope that you can look at that and say, it happened for her and therefore it can happen for me. Homesteading is worthy. Building cultures is worthy. Learning new skills is worthy. This is such a worthy life, and it is not outside your reach. We are in the midst of making a glorious mess, along with a glorious lunch. There's my peas. I actually ended up opening these and thinking that they needed a few more minutes, so I added about 5 minutes to the pressure. And you could even do more than this. You could cook them a little bit further if you wanted them soft and mushy, but this, I mean, they're very soft right now, and I like them like this. I like it when they have some extra broth in there. Eat them in a bowl. Over here, I've got a couple pans of cornbread, which are going to go really good with those peas. There's the breaded okra. Here's my dumpling dough. I'm about to start dropping those in the broth. So yeah, all around we're getting it done. 30 minutes till lunch, so I don't have a lot of time to video, but I will show you guys the end result. All right, so I'm dropping dumplings in here. Almost done. This is the leftover part of my dough, which I just pinch off little bits and drop it in. And Taylor's next to me frying okra in some lard from our pigs, okra from the farm. Of course, that's cornmeal breaded. So we were just commenting on how we're having just a good old southern, well, what they would call it here in South Carolina is dinner.
Yeah.
Because it's the midday meal, so they call that dinner here. Which we have had some confusion because we'll talk to Popsy and Mimi and we'll make dinner plans.
Yeah.
We have to clarify, is it what you call dinner or what I call dinner? Because we call dinner the evening meal, but they call that supper, so.
Yeah. I learned that, what you're talking about, I had learned that when I was working at the hospital I was at. And there's a gentleman that came in and I was talking about, you know, having dinner. And he was confused because I later then like kind of implied the time was a little later. It was like 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock. He was like, now honey, that is supper.
Exactly.
Like, if you were to invite me to your house at dinner, you'd find me at like 3 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay.
Exactly. That's pretty good, South Carolina. It has been so fascinating to me. I didn't know in moving from Arkansas to here that I was going to experience like a culture shift. I didn't understand. Because Arkansas is really considered the South, but here Arkansas is considered more like the Midwest. Like, which is weird because I grew up in Arkansas and we very much consider ourselves the South. It's very different. And I don't know, the accents, the people, I love it. I love it here.
You'll find different culture, like we're here in the Midlands.
Yeah.
But if you go down to the coast, to Charleston, and
very
like
different.
the Beaufort area, even that vibe of southernness is
very different. Yeah.
And it's nice. I like that.
Oh, well, we got the southern meal thing down today. All right, I'm going to stick the chicken back in my pot of dumplings. As you can see, because I just pinched off the dough, it's thickening up. I don't usually put any thickener in this because the flour itself does it. And I'll let this cook down for a little bit and it'll be ready to go. All right.
What?
Okay, guys, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's great.
Our first farmer's table lunch.
Very exciting.
Are you happy, sweet man?
Yeah.
Thumbs up. I always say the best days have spotty video because, you know, you get so wrapped up in the doing of things that you forget to show the story well. Today was a really good day. I'm really glad that I got to carry you guys along with me in that. And honestly, in all of these things that we're doing, it's a great joy and honor to have you with us. I bless you guys. Until next time.